Now that we're comfortable with the SolidWorks user interface, let's talk about customizing it to suit our needs. Now we've already talked about different ways that we can move things around, resize them, or just hide them altogether. But now we want to talk about customizing it to make it work better for us. The first thing we're going to talk about is keyboard shortcuts. Now by default, SolidWorks has a lot of keyboard shortcuts. You notice that if you do things like go over view orientation, you'll notice that it says Control+5 next to the top view. That means if we hit the Control and the number 5 on our keyboard, it goes into a top view. If you do Control+8, it'll do a normal to view, Control+7 gives you an isometric view, and so on. So there are several different ways that we can have quick keys, such as zoom to fit is the letter F, that'll really make it easier for us to do things in the SolidWorks environment. Now for the most part, I set up keyboard shortcuts to do things in the sketching environment. Because I use a 3D mouse, I set up a shortcut key on my 3D mouse to access a lot of tools. And we'll talk about that in another video. But now let's talk about getting set up to use keyboard shortcuts. To access the customization, there are several different ways that you can get to it. First, we can right-click anywhere on our command manager and go to Customize. Another way is we can use the gear icon that's new in SolidWorks 2016, go down to Customize. Or we can go to our Tools menu and down to Customize at the bottom. All three will take you to the same location. Inside here, you have access to several different tabs and things that you can customize in SolidWorks. We're going to talk about each of these in their own videos, so this one we're going to focus on keyboard. Now once you see the categories in the keyboard, you can select ones that you are interested in. For instance, if we want to look into view options. And then inside of view, we can only show ones with keyboard shortcuts. So in this case, it shows you redraw is Control+R, orientation is spacebar, zoom to fit is F. You'll also notice off to the right, there's a search shortcut. Now the ZF is what will bring up this command, zoom to fit, if you're using search commands in the toolbar at the top. But what we're really interested in are going to be the tools, most specifically the sketch tool. You notice that the sketch line already has a keyboard shortcut L, but no other tools do have one. Let's go ahead and find some commands that we want to apply keyboard shortcuts to. Let's start by typing in the word circle. So you notice 4 different options come up. Sketch Entities has a circle and a perimeter circle. Sketch Tools has a circular pattern and edit circular pattern. What we're really interested in is circle. I'm going to set this up to be the letter R on my keyboard. Now you'll notice when we do this, it says R is already assigned to a command, File, Browse Recent Documents. I don't really care about browsing recent documents with a shortcut key, so I'm going to say yes because it's going to be much more beneficial for me in the sketching environment. Next, I'm going to add another one, and this is going to be my 3-point arc. So I'm going to press the number 3, and you'll notice that it brings up a few things: 3-point corner rectangle, center rectangle, arc slot, and arc. Now in this case, you'll notice that it has a search shortcut, but it doesn't have a keyboard shortcut. We're going to set this up to be the letter A. Again, it says that it's already associated with something. Well, I don't really care about that. Now, it's important to note that you do not have to set up these keyboard shortcuts, but when we start the process of sketching and modeling, I'm going to be using all of the feature tabs and sketch tabs to access the tools. But as we get further along into our examples, I'm going to be using keyboard shortcuts to make it go a little bit quicker. The next thing I want to do is I want to add a keyboard shortcut for a spline. Now you'll notice that there are 3 different splines here. There's a spline, a style spline, and a spline on surface. Well, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use spline because in SolidWorks 2016, we can easily convert a standard spline into a style spline with several different options. And we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into a little bit more advanced sketching techniques. But for me, the letter P on the keyboard is going to be my spline. Again, it's associated with something else. Edit, repeat last command. Not a big deal for me, but I want to go ahead and I want to make sure that I don't accidentally have enter on there. So I'm going to put the letter P and say OK. Next thing we want to do is set up one for a sketch.